Alright, so today we're going to try to duplicate a buzzbait. So the way the buzzbait typically works, you have a one singular hook that comes back, then you have a wire tie with a tie point right here. So you tie there, and as this brings through the water, this spinning blade catches the water, splashes, makes a lot of noise at the top. This is a top water bait. You retrieve it, and then hopefully a nice sized bass comes up and grabs it. So the tricky part of this is going to be figuring out what kind of blade I need to do. I can't exactly copy that. I don't know if you can see how thin that is on the camera. Something that thin definitely would not print out as good. Now in the future I might try to make something that thin. I'll have to mess with the geography of it. I'll have to mess with the geometry of it, is what I meant to say, to get that to work. But I'm thinking just a propeller on the top. So a propeller going around, that will create enough motion and enough splash as it comes through the water to duplicate what this is. It's not going to make as enough ringing noise. I don't know if you can hear that. Like that. There's a thump that I don't know if I'll be able to get without having just two blades. But we'll see if we can catch a fish on the design I've got. This is the design I came up with. I've got the body of what I'm going to make right here. And then here's the propeller design. Jumping over to the body, you can see I have a through wire hole, and then I also have a hole for the bottom hook hanger. Then jumping over to propeller, you can see I have the propeller shaped just like any other propeller. It's got a curved front that'll make the water push the propeller in this direction. I'll rotate. I also have on this side two of those spacers to be printed out. That way I can put one on either side of the propeller to keep the propeller exactly where I want it. The other thing we'll need to look at is how we're going to print this. So I'm thinking that this green line through here, if you can imagine, is going to be the print bed. So it's going to print up like this. This will minimize any of the supports we have. I think I'll have supports in between these spacers, and then in this bottom hook hanger on the main body. So that'll minimize all supports, pretty much no leftovers for this. The only thing I might have to do is I might have to brim these pieces, because this contact area right here is where it's going to be connected to the bed, and that's a very small area for bed adhesion for this tall of a piece to print. By the time you're up here printing around, that's a lot of leverage that it has to pull against your print bed, so it might fall over. I'll print it both ways to see what happens, but we might have an issue with it printing without the brim. Alright, so it might be a little noisy. I've got the printer going on a different lure. But I wanted to show you the buzzbait, how I actually put it on the wires. So we've got 4 pieces that those will use. We've got the propeller piece, we've got the main body. We also have these 2 of these little spacers. They're not very big. So we'll have one on each side of the propeller. There's another one. When you're printing these out, they don't come out the cleanest, but you just clean them up by hand. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use a, I believe it's, how do I gauge this? Have the package somewhere, but so this is just stainless steel wire that I picked up from Tractor Supply. I tried using high tensile strength like like electric fence line. It was pretty stiff. Also, you can't twist that. I haven't tried twisting this stuff. I won't need to on this lure. This is pretty thick. It's pretty resistant for bending. So I found like this would work the best. Get the length. So we want a body and then a line tie. And then we're gonna want about the height of this in a turn. And then a little bit to mouth. So I'm gonna cut straighten this out the best we can. Doesn't have to be perfect, as long as it's in there. I find it easier to put the lure and do the line tie first. Now with this one printed out, you can see I have a little bit of fatter spot on the bottom and also a second hole. So what I need to do is make a line tie for that. So I'm going to check to make sure this thicker wire goes through before I do that, and then we'll make a little line tie that comes off and down with some thinner wire. Now we have a lower line tie, and then this is going to be the back line tie. This wire is a lot harder to twist when I use the vise, and it's going to take me a second to really get this wrapped tight enough. It'll be pretty bulky line tie. It's hard to make it look pretty when the wire is this thick. So now we're on to this, like I said. So we have the bottom line tie coming off with the thinner wire. This line tie is already done. I'm going to go ahead and do the bends here. So ideally what we're going to have is we're going to have one sharp bend here, a straight up, and then a straight back, and then the propeller will sit about right there. So let's go ahead and grab the pliers just to make everything look a little cleaner. Okay, and to get this height, I just need to make sure that I'm going to not be bumping the propeller into fish, so about right there, probably about a half a propeller worth of length. So we're going to say the final bend this direction needs to be about there. I'm going to put a little hook spot in it. So we'll bend out like that. Maybe a little bit more. Then come back. Bend in. So now I have a little hook spot, or sorry, a little spot to tie on, line tie spot. And about where I want that. So we're going to start by putting one of these here. This is one of the spacers. They print out with a rough side and a flat side. I'm going to put the flat side, the flattest side, smoothest side towards that. Then I'm actually going to super glue this on. Now I'm going to make sure I only get super glue on the spacer. I don't want to get any on the propeller to stop it from, and actually I just changed my mind. I'm going to put all the stuff on, and then when I'm done messing around with it and get all line ties done, I'm going to super glue them that. So right now let's just put the pieces on. The propeller goes with the tongue towards the front, just like that. And then the other spacer in the back. Sorry, got distracted. Got the printer going. Let's see. I guess I could show you real quick. Working on a little surprise for my trip this weekend. On this, I don't want this coming back much farther than that. I'm going to try to get a really sharp bend right here in the wire. And I just like doing a bend up. Don't think it really matters which way you go, just as long as you don't. You just want one smooth spot. and then I'm going to clip it, and then I'm going to try to bend a little bit more to get this to lock in, just so it doesn't come off even if it comes unglued. Serious wire, that's for sure. Shot off like a rocket. That should be good. You can see I got a nice hook that won't come off now. So even if it comes unglued, it's not going to come all the way off, which is what we're going for here. So now that I got that set, I'm going to go ahead and super glue these two white spacers, and then we'll be all set. Oh, I guess a line tie too, which is pretty straightforward and simple. Just bend it over. Then I'm going to take this, put those back in the vise, take it, wrap it around. Alright, so there we go. The line tie is done on the bottom. Everything else is good. I'll go ahead and glue these in place, make sure they don't move, and make sure that the propeller can. And then we should be all set. The next thing I'll do is I'm going to paint it, and all I do is put split rings and treble hooks on the bottom, and then you're all set to go. I have one here. Here's a body similar paint to one that I think I'm going to go for. I was testing it out on here. So hopefully next time you see this, it's all painted up and has all the hooks hung on it, and we're all set to go.
You need a little hook for a big one. When you have a big hook, you can catch the little one.
Alright, so let's see how we did. So here's the original buzzbait design. Remember, you have that hook with the blade, and well, ideally it spins. There, it's spinning. You can see the hook in the, or how it stops that blade from going back. There's a little metal spacer and just a curve in that. So I did try to duplicate with that with the one I made. So the one I made looks like this. So pretty comparable, except this will be back here. This one is not expensive buzzbait. It's pretty cheap. Comparable. I'd say the size is actually bigger on mine. But similar tie system. My line ties a lot higher. I tried tying it down here when I first made one of these. and for some reason it kept wanting to kick sideways and not follow right. I think this propeller system creates a lot more drag than the blade does, so it kept trying to pull it away from center. The other thing I noticed is that it runs a lot better when you're running on a snap swivel. It keeps that a lot straighter. You could probably tie a fancier knot than I know and do the same thing if you had something loose that could center itself and not pull one side or the other on the lure. But it seemed to work pretty good. As far as function goes, I have not caught a fish on it. I've been struggling lately catching fish in general. The hookup should be good on it though. It's got 2 treble hooks coming off the bottom as opposed to just the one singular hook on this guy. I know getting hookups on these can be difficult just because you only have the one hook. The fish are coming up from the bottom typically, so they need to get all the way around this in order you to get a good hookup. This one, hopefully as soon as they come up to the bottom, up to the lure, they're going to get hooked. They're going to get hooked on the thing. So I think it turned out pretty well. Like I said, I'll keep fishing with it. Let you know in a future video if I catch a fish on it, and I think it's another lure success. Pretty happy with the way it turned out, and as you'll see in the video, or have seen in the video, that the action's pretty similar and works pretty well. Remember, if you're looking to print this yourself, I'll be posting the STL files to my Cult 3D page. Be sure to follow me on Instagram for cool new lure designs. I post there every once in a while, usually when I have new video coming out. And keep following and subscribe, and hopefully I'll be making more 3D printed lures and maybe be catching some fish in the near future, but we'll see. All right, have a good one.